Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Storytime Society. I'm your host Jamie, and this is I'm actually dead that she's laying behind me like this right now. I don't want to move because I feel like she's going to move, but she looks so comfortable. Look at her. I'm trying not to acknowledge or she will rub up on me and probably get out of the chair, but I want her to sit like that for this episode. It's so cute. This is little Willa. I'm sure you guys already know by now because she's been in many episodes before. But I'm loving this for her. Usually, as you know, I don't let them in. But I'm so happy you're here. I'm so glad you're alive. I don't know if I said that yet because I'm a little distracted right now, but I'm actually. Wait, I'm going to look at her for a second. She's so cute. I love her so much. Let's see how long she lasts. The theme of this episode is updates only, so let's get into it. Okay, the title of the first story is My 34 wife 37 is pissed because I bought and had lunch with a female coworker. Did I really do something wrong here? First of all, my workplace has 3 floors. One floor has an even-ish number of guys and girls. The other 2 have mainly women. This new girl, Alice, joined a few months ago. I didn't really know a whole lot about her, but we have hung out in a few Friday evening after work drinking sessions. Not a whole lot of interaction prior to that. We just chat on occasion when we see each other at work or if she has to come to the floor I work on or I have to go down there. She's unaware I'm married. They met briefly at a company event shortly after Alice started working here. This was when I really first got introduced to her. Hell, most everyone here knows I'm married. 2 pictures on my desk are of my family. Anyway, the other day I was heading to lunch when Alice asked me to grab some lunch with her because she needed some advice. I said no problem. We went to lunch. There's a food court a couple buildings away, so we went there and I paid for both of us to grab some Thai food. We chatted for a while and then she began asking for advice, which was the purpose of grabbing lunch together. She has a boyfriend. He's into fishing and hiking and rock climbing, that sort of thing. So am I. It's something my brothers and I, as well as our sister, grew up doing. One of the girls on her floor mentioned that I'm into these things and she should ask me because she wanted advice about what kinds of gear to buy for him for his birthday. She wanted to buy him a compilation of equipment, some fishing gear, some hiking, some climbing, so we chatted for a while about that, and on her phone, I showed her some supplies she could pick up for him and told her if she needed more help, just ask. Then we went back to work, and that was that. So I came home and forgot all about it. I played with the kids, watched television for a bit, washed the dishes, and that was it. It wasn't really something significant for me, so I didn't mention it. 2 days later, my wife, Karen, asks me where I was for lunch that day. So I told her, grabbing lunch with a coworker. She's angry, and I'm pretty surprised as to why. I just told her Alice and I grabbed lunch. She wanted some help picking out presents for her boyfriend who has similar interests that I also have. Told her I bought lunch, we chatted, I showed her some stuff she could buy on her phone, and then we went back to work. I might as well have dug my own grave saying that. She's been absolutely furious the past couple of days, throwing scathing comments and that sort of thing. I'm pretty hurt. I don't see what I did wrong. Maybe not telling her immediately was wrong, I guess, but I didn't do anything with ill intent toward her or our marriage, so it just didn't bother me. It also didn't help that her friend saw us at the food court eating lunch, which was who she heard it from. Now, the thing about Alice, she's younger than Karen by 11 years and is a typically attractive girl, perky and fairly cheerful. Quite a few guys hit on her when we're at those after work drinking sessions. So I guess this is a factor because on Saturday, when I asked my wife if she wanted to grab some dinner, I got a very sullen, maybe you should get lunch with Alice in response. Another time, she did mention, maybe you just want a younger woman or something. I don't. I love my wife. I love my marriage. I'm a faithful man. I don't think what I did was wrong. I get her hearing it from her friend might have made it sound much worse than it really was. Yes, Alice is attractive and younger, but that doesn't matter to me. However, it seems to bother my wife a lot. Was I really wrong here? How can I address this situation?
If you want extra content weekly, head over to patreon.com/storytimesociety and become a member on there for extra content. Love you.
I don't think he was wrong at all. Especially because my boyfriend works in a corporate office with boys and girls. Like on his team, he has a really small team, but the company is like super big, but he has like two girls and then a boy or two girls, a boy, and then his boss is also a boy. Not me saying girls and boys. But he would go to lunch, like I'm pretty sure he's been to lunch with both of his female coworkers by themselves before. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't, it's like, yeah, those are your coworkers. Of course you're going to go to lunch with them. And like, of course, I don't know. It's like also networking. Like, you want to get to know people at your company. You want to be friendly with people at your company. I mean, I think that's a pretty normal thing to do. Like, it doesn't really bother me at all. I much like I encourage that as well, because it's like, yeah, you should be, you know, like, you know what I don't know. What am I saying? Like, you should be like nice to women, basically. Like, yeah, I'm encouraging you to like go hang out with your coworkers, and if those happen to be women, like, I hope you're being nice and respectful and like giving them some hope in like the male species, that like, oh, males can actually be nice. And I know that that is like my boyfriend is like so nice, so I'm sure the girls are like very appreciative of him because he's so sweet and so respectful. So I think maybe it's like I get I get her being insecure because that's not really something she can control, but it's definitely something she can work on, and I feel like that is going to be like a huge thing that she's going to need to figure out, because insecurity is hard to deal with in a relationship. It's really hard, and like, it's not to say I never get insecure in my relationship, but your husband is, it's not like he's going on, like he went on a date with some other girl. Like, he grabbed lunch like at his work and with a coworker, and like, I don't know. I just don't see. I think it's because I am in a similar situation, so I don't really see like a problem with it, but maybe someone who's not used to that would. Okay, OP responded to a deleted comment and said, "Yep, first time. I've been thinking that too. Maybe she feels she's getting older, has had a couple of kids, feels threatened or something. She has no reason to be, but if that's what she's feeling, I would understand. I mean, if my wife suddenly had a younger hot guy friend, I might be quite envious / annoyed, but I wouldn't really be angry unless she was actively going out of her way to talk to this guy and things like that. If she was just giving someone advice for their own relationship, there's no problem there. Alice and I don't even speak a whole lot beyond the occasional hey at work when we see each other. I doubt it's the us not grabbing lunch thing. We work at least half hour away from each other, so having lunch together is kind of a chore where we have to plan stuff and leave work 15 minutes earlier, that kind of thing. We do it once a month or so, though." 2 days later, my wife, Karen, asks me where I was for lunch that day. Did you ask her why she was asking? It seems a bit odd to ask you days later. I personally don't think you did anything wrong. I imagine you would have told her if she asked you that evening how your day was. But I wonder if a friend or a colleague of hers saw you two together, gave her a heads up, and she's embarrassed for one reason or another. OP said, yeah, a friend of hers did see us and mentioned it to her when she saw her a few days later. I don't think she's embarrassed, but angry. I have a feeling the coworker was also implying things, because like, you don't just go out of your way to say, hey, I saw your husband grabbing lunch with a girl at work. You don't just say that for like no reason. So I have a feeling she probably felt a little like some type of way because of the way that it was told to her. Because I think if my friend said that, I would be like, okay, and like, nice. I'm sure you're like, I don't need to know everything he does at work. I don't need to know everything my boyfriend does at work. Like, I don't need to know every day who he's having lunch with. I actually couldn't care less, unless he wants like me to know, like unless he's telling me and he wants me to know. Like, I obviously care how his day went and stuff, but like, I don't, little small tiny details like that, like oh my god, who are you going to eat lunch with? I don't care. Have fun. Go eat lunch with whoever you want. Okay, edits from main post. Edit 1, since this is apparently so important. Yes, I paid for my coworker's lunch. I did it to break an $100 bill, and she did in fact repay me immediately afterward. I didn't include this because where I'm from, it's pretty common for one person to pay for everyone's food if everyone is buying from the same place, and then everyone else just reimburses the cash afterwards. I hope this clears stuff up a little. I didn't think it would be such a huge issue. Edit 2, also, yes, I have had lunch with coworkers before, sometimes in groups, sometimes just one-on-one, sometimes they're with guys, and sometimes they're with female coworkers. This has never been an issue before, which is also why I didn't mention it. It wasn't important, and it's not something that's bothered my wife before. Just thought I'd put that in as well. I think that definitely makes a difference that she never cared before, but now she all of a sudden cares. And maybe it's because, see, that's why I need to know, like, what did this friend actually say to her? Because that's what it's sounding like. Because if she never really cared before, then why is she all of a sudden caring now? Okay, final update 2 weeks later. So it's been a few days since everything happened, and Karen and I have talked things out. One of the first things I asked was why she got so angry about me having lunch with my coworker. The OP and its responses pretty much gave me a solid idea, but I wanted to hear it from her. At first, she said she didn't know, but after a while of not saying anything, she admitted that she'd been having a hard time at work lately, and given that we'd both been busy and hearing from her friend that she saw me with some young hot girl laughing at lunch made her feel like shit. She admitted that she got really insecure and afraid at the thought of me carrying on with a coworker, and the fact that she was younger and that her friend described Alice as hot all didn't help. She said that having kids, plus a hard time at work, plus gaining a few pounds, nothing significant at all, made her feel threatened at the thought of someone younger who hadn't been through all of that. She said she should have known I'd never do something like that, and that never once in our marriage had I ever given her a reason to think that. I told her once again the reason why Alice and I had lunch that day, and even showed her some of the stuff I showed Alice to purchase for her significant other. It didn't exactly go back to normal ASAP, but she did apologize for lashing out and not giving me an opportunity to explain myself, as well as not trusting me. Since then, we've had a couple of date nights the past 5 days, left the kids with the sitter, had some dinner, etc., etc. With a winky face. All in all, things are back to normal and are better than ever before. In other news, Alice mentioned that her boyfriend loves the gear I suggested that she buy for him. Ugh, Willow, you're actually being so ridiculous right now. I understand. I get why she was like upset. That's why I knew that it was the instigator. Like I knew that friend was being such an instigator, saying that she was like young and hot and stuff. Like there's no reason that she needed to say that. That's like so rude, honestly, because you know that she did that on purpose. Like, oh yeah, she was young and hot, and like they were laughing, insinuating that like he probably likes this girl because she's hot and young, and they were laughing together at lunch. Like that's a little ridiculous. I'd be so mad at my friend if they did that. If like what the hell? That bothers me. Having you, she's on my lap right now and she's just literally in my way. Okay, Will, if you're gonna be here, you have to take a nap. Okay, someone said, by the way, your wife's friend sounds to me like a catty bitch. I would never say your significant other was out with a young hot chick. I would say, oh, by the way, I saw your significant other at lunch yesterday, and then slowly introduce it to prevent automatic suspicion. Part of this was caused by her being a bad friend. Yes, agreed. I'm glad this worked out and that your wife was able to recognize and verbalize that your actions were innocent and matched against her insecurities. Good on you for practicing patience. Maybe have coworker and her man over for a barbecue, beach, or lake day. There's a possibility wife and coworker could become friends and then everyone wins. Okay. Yeah, I love that suggestion, but like I don't need to be friends with every single female coworker that my boyfriend or husband works with, in my opinion. And then the top comment says, so OP didn't actually pay for the coworker, and I agree that the person who called the friend catty, that approach was shit stirring. Yeah, I'm wondering why did he have to say he paid for the lunch? Like it made it sound like it's fine if he paid for the lunch, but like why did he say that if he didn't actually pay for the lunch? Like you paid for it and then she paid you back, so you didn't pay for it. It makes not a lot of sense. Someone said he said in one of the comments way after the fact that she paid him back, and then someone responded to that and said, so why is he dumb enough to tell his wife he paid if she was always going to pay him back? I'm with the person that said OP is oblivious. Yeah, I'm wondering. Like, I'm so confused. Someone said, like OP said several times, it's just the way people do things where he is. They don't generally split bills. One person pays and the other pays back at some point, in this case, immediately. I've worked at a few places with similar office culture. Not sure who started it or when, but when several of us would go out to lunch together, one person pays and the other gets them back. The others get them back later. If it's not an unusual thing to do where OP is, then I can see why he wouldn't think to mention it. I just think it's an unnecessary detail to provide, to be honest. I mean, that doesn't even matter. It's really not that big of a deal, but it's just kind of unnecessary to be like, oh yeah, and I paid for the lunch. But then she paid me back. So you didn't pay for the lunch. What the hell? Like, I don't know why that's bothering me. But we're going to move on to the next story. And the title is, I'm 27 female, a teacher, and my principal, 40 male, asked me out. I feel very upset and I don't know what to do. I'm a middle school teacher. Last year, we got a new principal in our school who was very unpopular among the teachers. He had been very critical in all of his evaluations and shared some unkind words with our teachers when he has had a criticism. I, on the other hand, have received glowing evaluations as a teacher under every observation. I have yet to hear mean or harsh criticisms from him, and I even got a lot of new things from my classroom this year that no other teacher got. I'm really upset and feeling like shit now. I thought he appreciated me and had respect for me as a teacher. I really did. After school today, I went to his office to ask him about a semester exam for a particular student. After we discussed the student, he got up and shut the door and sat in the seat beside me. I got a pit in my stomach because I thought I was being disciplined for doing something wrong. He then said that he had heard me saying that I get together with friends on the weekends to play cards. He asked if I would ever like to get together, just the two of us, and play cards at his house. He was very clear he did not mean it as a date because he's my direct supervisor and that he meant it as just friends. Not sure I believe that. He just asked me not long ago if I was making another visit soon to the state where my ex-boyfriend lives, and I told him that I wasn't with that guy I used to visit, so no. My face got really hot and I stammered that I would not be interested in dating, but maybe sometime because I was too nervous to say no with him sitting next to me. I've been really upset since I got home. I've been so stupid to actually think that I was a great teacher. I feel like it's all been a lie and I just want to curl up in a ball and cry. All of my glowing evaluations mean nothing. I plan to go into his office before school very early tomorrow and tell him that I thought about it and I'm not interested. And I think it would be a bad idea to spend time together under any circumstance. What is the best way to approach this, and how do I pick my self-esteem back up? See, I hate that. Like, I hate when you think that, even if you just think that you're, like, friends with someone and that, like, oh, they like me as a person and they, like hanging out with me as a friend, and then you find out that it was just, like, a ploy to try to get to you, like, in a more, like, a sexual manner. It's literally so annoying. But I feel like she should go. I don't know if do they have HR? Like they have something at like schools, right? Like she should go report him, honestly. She should report him because I feel like now that she's denying and rejecting him, he's going to be like upset, you know? Like he's going to have that like rejection feeling where he's going to be like, okay, well now I'm going to like cuss her out and tell her that she's a terrible teacher and I'm going to give her all terrible reviews and terrible evaluations. So I feel like that needs to be on record that he said that so that they can like see what happens after. Because if things all of a sudden change and like now she's such a terrible teacher getting terrible reviews, I could see why that would be. Okay, there's an update 9 months later. One thing I noticed in the original post is that many replies said to contact HR immediately. Those comments were pretty out of touch with my actual small school system in a tiny community. The chain of command goes from principal, then directly to superintendent of schools. Also, that means that transferring to another school in the district would be out of the question. I thought comments telling me to leave or transfer were taking it a bit too far. I adore the school and I have more self-respect than to just leave in an uncomfortable situation. I received so much encouragement from others in my original post. The next day after I wrote the post, I left very early for school. I arrived before any of the other teachers were there, only Mr. S in his office. I left a recorder in my pocket, legal in my state, and walked into his office to ask if I could speak with him. Briefly, with the recorder on, I told him I was very uncomfortable with being asked to spend time with you at your home alone. He simply said, okay, and I left. Pretty uneventful. But I was worried he would deny it happened when I reported him, so I wanted to make sure I had something on tape. In regards to this resolution, I gave a written statement to my superintendent of schools about the incident. The school system is tiny, about 600 students from P through 12, so they don't have an HR, and it's not unusual to go directly from principal to superintendent, no middleman. I won't go too much into the discussion, but we came into a mutual agreement that it towed the line. He agreed to my own suggestion that should come to him as soon as anything else happens. My main concern was that I would be treated differently after turning him down, and this actually did happen, which I will get into in a moment. However, I had an unexpected turn of events in January and ended up putting in my resignation late February. I applied for a position closer to my hometown and have now moved back home for personal, unrelated reasons and illness in the family. So I'm actually not in that school anymore, but I miss it very much, and I do hope to go back someday. Once I had put in my resolution, nothing Mr. S did affected me anymore. He never made another pass at me and stopped talking to me completely. In fact, he stopped talking to me at all. It was like I didn't even exist. He began ignoring my discipline issues, and I didn't even care since I was leaving in May. After the 2 years of glowing reviews from him, at the end of the year, he tore me apart in my evaluation, despite having only been inside the classroom once that year. I didn't care at all. At the end of the year, the superintendent asked me to reconsider staying. He told me how much he admired the hard work I put into teaching, and he felt that they wouldn't find a quality foreign language teacher to replace me in that small of a district. I wanted to stay, but again, I was moving for personal reasons, and I couldn't. The goodbyes were very hard. And now the cherry on top. The superintendent had been quietly gathering reports and complaints about Mr. S's performances from all of the unhappy teachers. He met with him before the school year began to have meetings about changes and improvements that he really wanted to see happen. And Mr. S just quit on the spot, 5 days before the school year began for teachers. He really left the school high and dry. They have not found a replacement principal and are making it work with the superintendent doubling as his job and select staff members stepping in to cover other duties. So all in all, he is now the most hated man in the school district, and I don't have to be there among all the madness this year. The superintendent has also emailed me recently to let me know that I'm welcome to come back to that district at any time. Thanks for listening. Oh, yeah. Thank God. This is like a situation where it's like the bad guy loses. And I love a situation where the bad guy loses. But like I fear this is going to be his villain origin story or something, even though he already was the villain to begin with. But I feel like he's going to be even worse because he's going to be like that evil little rat in like the freaking superhero movies where he's just like so annoying because oh my god, a woman rejected him and now he like is just the worst person ever. I would love to know like what he's doing now. Where did he go? Sorry, I just got a message from my stepmom that my dog back home, not really my dog but my parents' dog, he is a little chocolate lab, and the first sorry, this is so off topic. But the first chocolate lab that we got my stepmom when I was like a freshman or sophomore in high school after my golden retriever. We had to put him down after like 12, 13 years of having him from old age. But then we got her a chocolate lab like a year or two after that, and for Christmas, and she like bawled her eyes out and she loved him so much. His name was Finley. And then she only got to have him for like 5 or 6 years because he ended up getting cancer and he passed away. So then they got another chocolate lab, like almost looks identical, but it's like an English chocolate lab, I think, instead. So it looks a little different, and he's like a little smaller and more stocky than the previous one. And she just texted me pictures of him, and it's like so sad. I don't know if you can see, but he was at daycare, and she said he had a hard day at daycare yesterday. The doctor thinks it's definitely a dog bite. Workers didn't hear or see anything, even though 2 girls were out there. Went to the ER, sedated him, cleaned it out, and got stitches. No swimming, no running, no stairs, etc. equals no fun. My poor buddy. I said, I feel so bad for him. That's so sad. I hope he's okay. She said, I do also. He's acting pretty normal right now, but he does take a pain med every 12 hours. I had PTSD last night laying on the floor with him when he was drugged up. He looked exactly like Finn did when he was sick. It was awful. That makes me so sad. Wait, not me literally about to cry. I hate seeing animals in pain. I mean, I hate seeing anyone in pain, honestly, but it's like so sad when it's like a animal that can't communicate or like say anything, and that's like so upsetting. Like I saw a video of this horse that was being used as like an Amish horse carriage. You know how they like not ride horses, but they use them to like, what are they called? Horse-drawn carriages or whatever. They use that for transportation. And I saw this terrible TikTok of them. This horse was on the ground with like water everywhere and clearly dead, like just dead on the side of the road. And they were dragging him off to the side of the road because he just died because the guy was like overworked him to death, where he just like flat out died right then and there. And like that was the worst video ever. I could not watch it. Even I saw it and immediately was like, no. If there's no happy ending, I cannot be involved. But anyways, sorry. Let's get back to the regularly scheduled program. My Willa Bean is being so sweet right now. Aren't you, Bean? The top comment says, closing the door is like a cop turning off their body cam. He knew it was entirely inappropriate. He was not interested in dating, but just hanging out alone. Anyone else interpret that as he was DTF OP? NSA, of course. Gotta keep things professional. And then someone said, no, guys like this frame it as not a date so that if you push back on them for putting you in an inappropriate situation, they can hold their hands up and shout, not a date. I never proposed anything inappropriate. But if you take them at their word and agree to hang out as platonic friends because they're your boss and you don't want to offend them, and then they make a move, they can chastise you for leading them on. So real. All right, we're going to move on to the next. I hope this episode isn't like a mess because Willa has been like interrupting me every 5 seconds. So I'm going to have to edit everything out. And she's been like rubbing up against the microphone, which I know makes such annoying noises. So I hope I can cut all that out. But we're going to move on to the next story. The title is, Am I the asshole if I report a nurse for asking for my number during a procedure? I, 21 female, had an EMG this morning. It's a test where they use little needles and electrodes to check how your nerves and muscles work. It's already a vulnerable situation since you're laying down in a cold room in a backless gown and can't really leave in the middle. And on top of that, I have anxiety as well, and I didn't bring anyone to the appointment with me like I usually do. The nurse who was doing the first part of the test, the electrodes part, because the actual doctor does the needles, made me really uncomfortable. He kept flirting and asking me out even though I tried to shut it down. Just a few of his comments are listed here. I couldn't remember them all after the fact. Quote, I'm also a personal trainer. Maybe I can help you stretch sometime. Quote, am I charming you? Am I making you nervous? Quote, I want to show you around the city. Maybe we could get together and find a nice spot. Quote, can I get your number? You're so beautiful. Quote, you have such beautiful skin complexion, like a Nubian or an Egyptian. Where are you from? Quote, why don't you date? Why are you single? I want to take you driving. Okay, I'm scared. When I explained I'm happy, single, and I don't want to casually date for religious reasons, he said, you never know. Maybe if we find the right person, I'd love to show you around. He also commented on old scars on my arm. They're clearly old self-harm scars. Literally no other medical professional has ever brought them up. Not even the neurologist that came in right after him. So that felt like he was violating my privacy. At some points, he even held onto my arm in a way that made me really uncomfortable. For context, I've never had a boyfriend, never even held hands with anyone, and I'd never even gotten male attention until recently. I also have really bad anxiety, and during the appointment, I kind of shut down and couldn't think straight. He was clearly older than me, and I felt really vulnerable the whole time. I tried to redirect the conversation, but he kept pushing. At the end, he asked for my Instagram. I said I don't really use it, but he kept at me, saying, you don't want to go on a date, so at least give me that much. You should hit me up sometime. So I gave him my public account and blocked him as soon as I got into the car. I felt so nauseous and guilty sitting in my car, especially because I kept engaging with him and responding to his questions. I feel like I should have said something about how he was making me feel weird, or asked for another nurse, or even complained to the doctor, but I didn't know what to do. I feel like I should have stood up for myself, but on the other hand, I couldn't even think straight and I was so panicky. Now, on one hand, this felt super unprofessional and inappropriate and unethical. I don't want other people to be put in that position. On the other, I feel bad about potentially affecting his income and job, especially with how things are in the economy right now. And I'm also worried about the possibility that he has access to and can see all of my medical information and personal info. I have no idea what to do, and I'd really like some input or advice from someone who works in the field or has experienced this before. Sorry if this is not nicely written or is kind of repetitive. I literally just got home and I hurried to come post this ASAP. It's not your fault that he was acting like a weirdo and so inappropriate. It doesn't, like, when you're going to get help or you're going to get medical attention, you're not thinking that you have to worry about something like that. And you shouldn't have to worry about something like that. And you really shouldn't have to be like defending yourself when you're trying to get medical attention. That's crazy. So never blame yourself for something that some other creepy weirdo did. Like, that is all his fault, 100% on him. He should be fired immediately. Like, absolutely not. He should not have the ability to sexually harass any more patients, because I'm sure he's done it multiple, probably hundreds of times before. And that is really scary to think about. And that's just like that's such an awful situation to be in. Like, I'm in my most vulnerable position, and you're in charge of my care, like making sure that, and you could really do something to harm me. Like, if I flat out rejected you, or if OP flat out rejected him, he could literally be like, get pissed off and then like literally kill her. That's so scary. Like, it's giving The Good Nurse, but like not, because it's literally not the same situation at all. But you know how that movie The Good Nurse, if you've ever seen it, if you haven't, spoiler alert, but how he literally like it's actually a real case, I think, that happened. It's like based on a true story. He killed so many people because he injected like insulin into the IV bags, into the IV drips. So every time someone put an IV drip on their patient, that person just died. That's scary. That's the kind of stuff that could happen, because these, like, yeah, obviously your nurse has the ability to further harm you if they really wanted to. That's so scary. Someone said report them. Yeah, report them. Someone said, not the asshole. It's incredibly unprofessional that he was hitting on you and asking you personal questions about your scars while working as a healthcare provider. Reporting him is the right move so that he doesn't do it to the other patients. And then someone said, based on what he was doing, I'd be surprised if he was a nurse. It sounds more like a procedure tech or an assistant. As a registered nurse, I'm quick to point out that not everyone in healthcare is a nurse, and would ask for caution in categorizing such. Yes, he sounds like a jerk and definitely needs to be reported and followed up on. And then someone said, report him immediately. He didn't feel concerned about risking his job to harass you repeatedly. You should feel safe and secure in your doctor's office. And then there's an update, and it says, thank you for all of your comments. I really appreciate the advice and as well as the support. I sent an official complaint to the HR office, and I'm on hold with the patient advocate right now. I really hope that they can make it so that this guy can never do this to anyone ever again. Someone in the comments said to see if I can report him to the state board, so I'm going to do that. Thank you. And then there's a final update, and it's the next day. Okay, so this got a lot bigger than I expected. I usually just lurk on here, but I just want to say thank you again for all of the advice, and that reading through all the comments has made me feel a whole lot better. Also, I thank you to everyone who corrected me. It turns out that he is an EMG tech and not a nurse. Good news, though. They identified him, and I have a meeting tomorrow with the Director of Patient Services for that facility to discuss the matter further, and I'm also going to report him to the ABEM like one of you suggested. Have a good night, everyone, and stay safe. Thank God, because she's literally saving so many people right now. But because I don't even know, like, that is, imagine he's trying to lure her somewhere and like he's a weirdo little freak that's like a serial killer, maybe. I don't know. Lord only knows these days. The top comment says, just a little PSA, if a medical professional acts in a manner that is completely inappropriate and or makes you feel unsafe and uncomfortable, report them. Do not feel bad about potentially affecting their income or job. It isn't your responsibility to care more about their employment than they do. Tea. Literally tea. Oh my god, the amount of hair I have on my sweater right now is actually insane. And then Anal Ukulele said, this post makes me so angry. Not at OOP, because I really feel for her, but that disgusting and unprofessional EMG tech. I'm an operating room nurse myself, and I never have I ever sexualized a patient. The thought of it makes me angry, nauseous, and sick. The one reason I truly dislike nurse/doctor patient corn. Edit. What? I'm scared of that. I didn't know that was a thing. There's so many niche corn, and I'm not talking about corn on the cob. That it's like crazy. It's like, I mean, there's very inappropriate ones, but then also like stepsister gets stuck in a dryer, or like that's not even that niche, honestly. There's definitely more niche corn out there than that, but I wouldn't know because I've never been addicted. I've watched previously before a couple times. I mean, I've watched like when I was younger. Oh my god, do you guys remember, like, if you guys are around my age, or like, you know, the Two Girls and One Cup? Me and my friends, we had a St. Patrick's Day party in 6th grade with like me and like 15 girls, and we were like, guys, let's watch. And we put it on. It was like I'm pretty sure it was on YouTube, if I'm not mistaken, which is crazy because I get scared now to say like the F word on here because you could like get your channel taken down because of it. But meanwhile, they used to be putting this video on YouTube. I swear it was on YouTube, but maybe not. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it was in like literally, I think I was in 6th grade actually. And we all just gathered around the computer. We were like, oh my god, what the hell is this? This is crazy. But we still wanted to watch. It's actually crazy how like curious you are at that age. Like, we would watch anything. We would watch the meat spin thing, if you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't know, that one might be really niche actually, but to remind you, when you clicked that website, it would come up with a dangling swinging around like this, and the song would be "You Spin My Head Right Around." That is crazy. And yeah, me and my friend clicked on that. We were like, whoa, that's wild. I'm pretty sure I was in like 5th grade at that point. Why did I have access to a computer to do that? Because that is crazy. Thank God my mom never found that stuff on my computer. She would have been so scared. She would have been like, girly, I'm scared. As she should. Okay, we're going to do a quick little advice section / confession section moment. If you ever want unprofessional advice from me, you can either call and leave me a voicemail, 561-264-7017, or there's a Google form in the description, and you can click there and leave me a little confession or advice. This one is on a Google form, which I haven't done in a while, but it's an advice question, and it says, my boyfriend had someone living at his house for a month without me knowing. So me, 18, and my boyfriend, 20, are just getting into a relationship. We met on Tinder. Long story short, we basically started living together when we first got together because my home life is bad. Well, not long into our relationship, he asks if his friend can move in because she doesn't have anywhere else to stay. I say I would not be comfortable with that, knowing there's another female at his house when I'm not there. He assured me nothing would change with us and tried to convince me over several days. I kept saying no. A few days later, he says he wants to hang out at my house more because his boss is mad I'm parking on the main street. He lives above his work and his boss is his landlord. I say okay, not thinking much, but then it turns into only my house from now on. I'm very suspicious, and a couple of times he would be waiting for me at my house for when I got off work, and I was just so tempted to go to his house and see if anyone was there. but I didn't. After about a month, he tells me his neighbors moved out so I can park in the back. Great. So I come over, and the whole way to his house had a pit in my stomach. When I get to his apartment, it is so obvious 2 people had been in it. Also, his apartment is a studio and very small, so that's another reason it made me uncomfortable. I sleep through the night barely, and when he gets off work, I ask him this: "Can you be honest with me?" He immediately sits up and says, "About what?" And I just say, "You had someone here." And he says, "Yeah." I already kind of knew, so it wasn't shocking, but it still hurts. I ask a bunch of follow-up questions, and he asks me, "How do we move on from here?" And I just don't know what to do. I love him so much, but if he does this, who knows what else he'll do behind my back. Side notes, watch your videos almost every day, and I love you so much. Thank you for reading. Okay, I love you so much, and I hate the dump him. I hate the dump him advice every single time, but I do fear that that's too big of a lie and too big of like a being sneaky and going behind your back to ever work through that. Like, I truly think that you can find someone so much better that doesn't lie to you and doesn't go behind your back and hide things from you. And also, what, did he just like kick you out basically and have this other girl move in? Like, that is kind of crazy. All of a sudden he's like, "Okay, well, let's go to your house, and you're not living in my," like, you lived with him for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're living back at your house again. Like, that's crazy. And then what, was he not allowing you to come over there for like a while? So you had to stay at your house, which you mentioned that you have a bad home life, and he was just having you like stay at your house. That is crazy. Like, he obviously doesn't care about your well-being, because if a big reason that you guys started living together was because of your home life, then he knew. And he just was like, "Okay, bye. I have another girl wanting to move in, so see ya." Like, what else? I don't know. You really you can never know like the full situation, because who knows if he's even going to tell you the full truth of what actually happened with that girl. I highly doubt that it was just some innocent relationship, like a roommate or anything like that, because why would he not want you to come over there? Like, if it was like a roommate and he was like, "Well, I really want to help this girl out, and I think that, like, I just feel like I want to help my friend," and at least told you that he was going to do it anyways, then you would know, instead of going behind your back. And then you could just like come over there, and he would be fine with it, because he would be fine about you coming over, because he has nothing to hide. But if he wasn't letting you come over, like, that's so weird. He wasn't letting you come over, but he also had a girl living, like, that is just crazy to me. I don't think that you can move on from there. I really think that this is a situation where you just have to choose yourself and move on and learn from the situation, and just know that you deserve way, 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 way better than a guy who lies to you and goes behind your back and sneaks behind your back to do things that he knows isn't right, because otherwise he wouldn't be sneaking around your back if he thought that it was okay. Anyways, I love you so much, and thank you so much for writing in, and I hope that everything works out for you. That's the end of this episode. I have 2 more episodes to film after this, so let me know what you thought about the stories that we read, and if you have any advice for the advice segment, that would also be amazing. If you haven't already, please press the subscribe button, the like button, and obviously, as always, leave a comment down below, because I want to know your thoughts and questions and comments and concerns. And I love you guys so much, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Storytime Society is now available on all listening platforms. If you are on any of those listening platforms, I would really appreciate it if you rated me 5 stars. Thanks for all the support.
Love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.